Have you ever had a dream that stayed with you? One that you woke up from and it seemed to be giving you an insight or a warning, a premonition about the future. It can be unsettling to wake up from a dream that is hard to understand and interpret, especially when it's a dream which is seemingly rich with wisdom to be gleaned. Just a few weeks ago, our Torah gave us the powerful narrative of Jacob's dream. Having laid his head on a rock, he dreamt of angels, and he woke up and reminded himself that God was around him. This week's parsha focuses on different dreams, those of Pharaoh. Pharaoh has two troubling dreams, and Joseph is brought from prison to interpret Pharaoh's dreams. Pharaoh deemed Joseph's interpretation skills so insightful that he then makes Joseph his advisor. It's quite wild to think of how much the history of the Israelites, as presented in the Torah, changes based on Joseph's ability to interpret dreams. What if Joseph had not been chosen for this task or had not impressed Pharaoh with his skills? Joseph's wisdom while interpreting Pharaoh's dreams is a critical piece in our narrative arc. This week I spent some time looking into the Jewish understanding of dream interpretation. Within our Torah text, we have numerous examples, like the one from this parasha, of dreams being opportunities to gain wisdom and insight about the future. But there isn't much within our Torah about what it means to dream and how dreams should be interpreted. There is, however, a fair amount of text about dream interpretation in our Talmud. Like most dives into the Talmud, there are contrasting opinions found regarding dream interpretation. In Tractate Gittin, we have this pretty clear statement on dreams. Dreams have no significance one way or another. And yet, in Tractate Brachot, we find the teaching that a dream is 1/60th of a prophecy. I loved this story from Tractate Brachot about Rabbi. He shared that in Jerusalem there were 24 interpreters of dreams. And once he explained that he had dreamed a dream and went to all 24 of the interpreters, and not one agreed with the interpretation of the other. And yet, all the interpretations were fulfilled. The most detailed description we have of dreams is in Brachot. There's a beautiful line that shares that a dream not interpreted is like a letter left unopened. It then proceeds to give some information on the symbols found within dreams. Some of these symbols, I imagine, are regularly in dreams, and others are more obscure. So, for example, a dream about barley is a good omen, and a dream about wheat is a foretelling of peace. A dream about an elephant is more complicated. If the elephant is saddled, the Talmud shares, then it's an omen that miracles will be performed for you. And if it's not saddled, then it's a bad omen. And this one is for gardeners. If you dream of a hen, it is a good sign for your garden. I could use some hen dreams, as my garden is not so pleased with me right now. In this same tractate, we hear of the story of Abaya and Rava. They realize that they both have had the same exact dream. Abaya goes to Hadaya to interpret the dream and is told that it is a good omen for the future. Rava also goes to Hadaya and is told that the dream is a bad omen, and both of the predictions come true. Which leads me to question, is it the dream or the interpretation of the dream that is most efficacious in predicting the future? Our tradition seems to put greater emphasis on the interpretation of the dream. This, to me, feels very Jewish, that there is value and learning that can come from trying to understand something, in looking at a dream or a problem or an idea and trying to decipher what there might be to learn from it. Perhaps the interpretation of the dream is as or more important than the dream itself in terms of predicting the future. My sense is that our dreams come from what we feel or experience in our waking hours, and the act of interpreting them helps us to better understand ourselves and our own fears, hopes, desires, stress. Our dreams are a mirror into the inner workings of our thoughts and feelings, and trying to interpret them and asking for help from others in their interpretation can lead to further understanding of ourselves. Pharaoh felt a sense of comfort in bringing his dreams to Joseph, and because of Joseph's willingness to involve himself in Pharaoh's dream, the trust was built. I want to end with the story. I was introduced to the story just a few weeks ago. As most of you probably know, our synagogue has a wonderfully diverse and extensive library right around the corner. But within this building, just right on the other side of that wall. Additionally, upstairs, we have a library for our younger members, for our children who are in religion school. Before the morning starts and throughout break time, you can see children wandering in to read the books. After our remote learning session ended a few weeks ago, I heard my 12-year-old son laughing in the library. And he had found a story that he thought was quite funny. He shared it with my family, and we were all delighted by it. My 6-year-old asked me to explain what was funny about it, and I struggled to verbalize the humor. However, I think in part, it is just what I've been speaking about today, that sometimes the act of interpretation and the willingness to involve oneself in the search for meaning is as important as the answer itself. I'll leave you to find your own meaning from the story. It's from a book that we have upstairs called Kibitzers and Fools, The Tales My Zadie Told Me by Sims Tabak. So here's the story. Little Yankel had a question to ask his teacher. Teacher, what is life? I can't answer this question. I am only a teacher. Go and ask the rabbi. He will have an answer. So Yankel went to see the rabbi. The shamus, the synagogue's caretaker, led Yankel into the library where the rabbi worked. It was filled with books from the floor to the ceiling. Surely the answer must be here, Yankel thought to himself. Rabbi, what is life? The rabbi stroked his beard and took off his glasses and replied, This is a great question, Yankel. I am only a rabbi of a rather small village. I do not have an answer to such a question. I would advise you to see the chief rabbi. He is a great and wise man who lives high on top of a mountain between this village and the next. And they say he talks to God. So, Yankel packed some of his clothing and walked for 2 days and 2 nights until he reached the top of the mountain where the chief rabbi lived. Yankel was surprised to see that the house had only one room. There was only one table on which lay a very old book and one chair. The chief rabbi was in a state of deep meditation while standing on his head. He didn't even look at Yankel when he walked in. Yankel was scared. The rabbi was a tzaddik, a person of great righteousness and wisdom. But Yankel managed somehow to ask his question. What is life? Yankel asked. Narasha boychik, silly boy, answered the chief rabbi. He remained standing on his head. Life, of course, is a fountain. Life is a fountain, answered Yankel. Why is life a fountain? The chief rabbi thought about this for a while. He continued to stand on his head. Okay, he said, so life is not a fountain. And that's the story. May our Sabbath rest this week allow us the time, creativity, and thoughtful conversations with friends and family to learn more about ourselves and our understanding of the world and our role within it. Shabbat Shalom. We continue on page 519. Please rise.